Hi everyone, welcome to Farsight Weekly for August 26, 2024. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight, where we study the subject of remote viewing widely applied, where all data are collected under totally blind and scientifically defensible conditions. So let's dive in. What's going on? Well, first off, the big news is that our forecast results for both the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention were absolutely spot on. Starting with the Democratic National Convention, there were very significant protests and arrests at that event in Chicago. The trouble is that the mainstream news media heavily censored the coverage of those protests. If you followed only, say, CNN or most other mainstream outlets, you might not even think that there were any protests. Now, a mainstream news outlet that did cover the protests accurately was Fox News. A link to a video of the Fox News reporting can be found in the description area below this video. If you watch it, you will see how different this is from that which was found on most other mainstream news outlets. Now, in terms of more internet-based news outlets, News Nation covered the protest to some extent, but not as much as Fox News. But as you can see from the Fox News video coverage, the protests were very significant at the DNC, and the extremely heavy police presence, riot equipment, and tear gas were entirely in line with our forecast for that event. Now, our forecast stated that the protests at the Republican National Convention would be more restrained than at the Democratic National Convention, and that is exactly what happened. The Republican National Convention stuff essentially included the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, since it happened only 2 days before the beginning of the convention. Also, the assassination attempt was a huge theme of the convention, with some participants even wearing ear bandages in support of Trump. Now, there were some protests outside of the convention hall, but they were fewer in number and size than those of the Democratic National Convention, and there was an absolutely huge police presence at the Republican National Convention, no doubt boosted up as a consequence of the assassination attempt of a few days earlier. Again, with the serious censorship of the news today, Farsight is an extremely valuable source of information. What you get from us, you can get from nowhere else. We use a novel methodology of data gathering that is much more resistant to bias, since all of our remote viewing sessions are conducted totally blind, and we show you the raw data unfiltered. Farsight is unique. We also just released the video of our first Farsight ET board meeting, where our remote viewers interacted with 2 extraterrestrials. If you have not seen it yet, you can find the full project on FarsightPrime.com. Now, we plan to do this each month, since this is a crunch time on planet Earth. The ETs who we work with want you to have direct access to what they are telling us, and in this way, they have direct access to you. They want the total end of all secrecy. They want full disclosure of all ET activities on this planet, and they want that disclosure now, not in the near or distant future. Now. Watch our Farsight ET board meetings each month. You will see how their commentaries evolve as the events on our planet develop. Again, the board meetings can be found on FarsightPrime.com. Now, Aziz Brown is continuing his efforts in August to answer questions that are posted on our forums on FarsightPrime.com, and he occasionally creates a video that captures some of these posts. Take a look.
Hi everyone. I'm going to share a question from an audience member in the Farsight Q&A forum post. The question goes as follows. I have always wondered if the remote viewing targets contain bias or expectations from the person that thought up or created the target in the first place. Here's my answer. I definitely have had my worries with tasker bias influencing viewer data, but it hasn't been too big of a worry because of the great number of examples across remote viewing's history where taskers have been surprised by data. There have been a litany of examples both within Farsight's works and with other groups and individuals where the tasker had their worldview shaken or completely changed by the viewer's data. To be honest, I think there is far more to being online in the sense of accessing the psychic internet. I think we are constantly connected to the telepathic thoughts of others and the possibility of perceiving any place across existence, but we are so wrapped up in our own conscious mind chatter and untrained when it comes to differentiating the origins of these signals that we basically exist in a blind, perpetual, mucky storm of psychic frequencies. The remote viewing process helps us tune out these momentarily to pull data from the target, but ultimately we have to be able to be self-aware enough to see where contamination, blocking, and other interference can appear, whether it is intentional or not. I've speculated that with the rise of large language model AIs like ChatGPT, Llama, etc., that we can experiment one day with substituting the tasker out with an artificial intelligence that knows the target and can present movement exercises to the viewer, which are subjective to the development of the viewer's perceptions of the target without revealing any target data. This way, the AI is not just the tasker, but an interviewer as well. An interviewer would, in this case, direct the viewer to explore specific parts of the target in non-leading ways, like, for example, stating, "Go to focus 2," and then the viewer would go to focus 2. The AI could technically pull a target from a large pool of targets that they filled that is large enough so that the viewer can't guess which one that they will be given. In this example, the viewer is kind of like their own tasker after he looks at the target reveal and then closes the session, while the AI is acting as like a middleman. Ultimately, the only real solution is to simply get better and to be more psychically advanced. I see the SRV session template and the remote viewing process as it exists today in general as glorified training wheels for our stage of human psychic evolution as we get our psychic sea legs as a species. We need to get so good that we can clearly observe the trajectories of mental thought forms from their origin as they cross our awareness so that session data is not affected. In fact, I've noticed through the almost 10 years now that I've been doing remote viewing that many people have all sorts of interference that affects their sessions. Like, a perfectly accurate session can be done on a target location and a target subject, but the viewer consumes XYZ type of content on the internet and has identified their ego with this topic so much that when they go into the session, they tend to, on average, paint their conscious mind behavioral biases over the raw, accurate data that constitutes the session. These biases are programmed externally, often by social media or life experiences and culture in general. The lower level data is perfectly correct, but the higher level conscious mind interpretation of the data is painted with what the conscious mind is familiar with. I think only a clear evolution of remote viewers epigenetically through solidifying radical new behaviors can rectify this. By epigenetically, I mean that we must literally evolve as a species to get past the concerns that you've mentioned. And we must do so through consistent experimentation and adaptation. And I believe proper technological application can help us with this, accelerate the process. We are trying to do that at Farsight, and there are many new protocols and procedures that we are experimenting with to always get better, and most of this stuff hasn't been recorded and shared yet, just because it is so new. But more people need to tackle this. There literally needs to be more remote viewers in the world. The scientific process of the field demands it, and that is a big goal of Farsight. So that was my answer. A big thank you to the audience member who asked that question. It was very thought-provoking. I'm still going to be answering questions from you all, but it does take me quite a bit of time to answer each one. I'm currently on the second page of questions in the form, and there are 8 pages in total. I will keep going through and answering as many questions as I can, though.
Now, in other news, I want to remind everyone that we are continuing our Sequel Plus forecast through the end of 2024. Governments are struggling to keep their national currencies relevant, but it is an uphill battle when corrupted politicians control the money supply. The debt in the United States, for example, is totally unsustainable, and many people think a collapse of the dollar is inevitable unless something is done about it. The trouble is, it does not seem like anything significant is going to be done about it, no matter who wins the upcoming election. The problem may have gotten simply too big to sort out in any traditional manner. So, now, many people are looking forward to a time when currencies are controlled by blockchain in a manner that cannot be controlled by politicians, which of course brings us to cryptocurrencies, and that is why we have an interest in them. We do these forecasts for entertainment and educational purposes only, but they do seem highly relevant in today's world. You can find out more about this on our website, farsight.org. And speaking about our website, farsight.org, it has undergone a complete makeover. It is much better now, and it works great when using both a computer and your phone. If you have not visited our website for a while, it is worth it to take a look. It's modern, sleek, and the response time is great. We want people to see what we do. That is the only way we can help change this planet for the better. Also upcoming on FarsightPrime.com is the major investigation into the account of Michael Herrera, a U.S. military veteran who witnessed a UAP or UFO back in 2009 while participating in an operation in the jungles of Indonesia. Now, it appears that this UAP and the special operatives working with it may have been involved in a major human trafficking operation. Now, this new project will be published at the end of the first week in September. This is huge. Be sure to watch it. Also, I should add at this point that on FarsightPrime.com we are now offering captions in multiple languages for many of our videos. So English is not a limitation on FarsightPrime.com. Now, deep news. We continue to release more sessions each month on both YouTube and FarsightPrime.com. The war between Israel and Hezbollah seems to be following the line of our forecasts, and we will be releasing additional forecasts for that war in a few days. So keep watching Farsight's Deep News Project on that and a variety of other news stories. Remember that we have a huge instructional and educational effort here at Farsight. We have people teaching our version of remote viewing, and we offer lots of instructional videos on FarsightPrime.com, plus printed materials and other resources on Farsight.org. We are also listing our Farsight certified instructors who are teaching these classes, and the list will grow as more people obtain certification. The Farsight instructors are doing this on their own. Farsight does not get any financial benefit from their activities. Start by going to our website, farsight.org, and near the top of the navigation bar on the left, you will see a link for remote viewing courses. Farsight is totally transparent. Farsight is first class from top to bottom, so when you follow our stuff, you are engaging with the best. To keep up with what we do at Farsight, start by subscribing to our YouTube channel and remember to click on the notifications bell that appears after you subscribe. That is the only way YouTube will notify you of the new events, especially our live stream events. Just subscribing doesn't do anything. The notifications bell is the important part. But that only notifies you of things that we release on YouTube. To be notified about the things that we release on FarsightPrime.com, which you can watch using our Apple and Android apps on the web and on your home TV, you need to subscribe to our free email newsletter found on our website at farsight.org. You can also allow our apps to notify you of our new releases on FarsightPrime.com. The links for YouTube and the newsletter are in the description area below this video, and the app it's on your phone. Those are how we announce what we do. We never send out spam, and we never give our subscriber list to anyone else for any purpose. Well, that is it for this week at Farsight. Each week we will bring you the latest. Stick with us in these changing times, and we will always stick with you. What you get from Farsight, you can get absolutely nowhere else. Stay ahead of the curve. Let the mainstream fade in the dust. Be there now. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight.